Welcome to another edition of Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS with Rachelle, folks. I am back in town, back from hiatus, went to Louisiana for another visit, and I want to kick this episode off with just a quick reminder. You know, from time to time, I like to point out little inspirational trinkets that I buy. And this one says, let the sun shine in. So folks, we know we have all been through a rough patch, particularly during the pandemic, but folks, the sun rises, and we've got to let it in to our lives, regardless of how much adversity and everything that we've faced. We are overcomers. We are overcomers, right? The storm clouds come, but they dissipate as well. The sunshine comes. Sometimes it's often said the sun comes up sometimes more brightly or most brightly after the strongest storm. So folks, we are overcomers. We are overcomers, but let's do our part to open up the blinds, the metaphorical blinds of life, and let the sun shine in, folks. Let the sun shine in. And you may be wondering, Rachelle, did you get that from Dollar Tree? And the answer, surprisingly this time, is no. I actually bought this from Ellis Pottery in Bossier City, Louisiana. They have several locations there. And I just thought this was so cute. So cute. So I had to start off with that, folks. And so very quickly, I have to tell you what I came across. See, the last episode where you saw my face before hiatus told you about my esteemed tape collection that I continue to maintain all of these years, cassette tapes, all right? And so I came across a classic when I was in Louisiana. See, that's a cool thing about, you know, going back home, is there's all these little things that, you know, are still in the house, whatever, from when I was there. And so Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill, this is my tape. So yes, I will be adding this to my tape collection here. I was so excited to come across this, and oh, that was a good tape back in the day. And so just had to start off with that little funny. And you can see here, I have my little gym key cards here. Obviously, Edge Fitness, you know, and of course got my little red holder here. So I'm very big on like color coordinating these type of things. But anyway, my Edge Fitness one, and I've got my the newest arrival, the newest pay-as-you-go gym option that I have, Fit Nation in Bossier City, Louisiana. That I will certainly use when I'm in town there, much like the Bel Air, the pay-as-you-go option, much like I experienced it at Bel Air Fitness a few years ago. So glad to now have just a solid fitness option when I'm in town, because I'm telling you folks, the coronavirus pandemic, again, that mind shift of mine going from exclusive gyms until the gyms closed last year, and in Louisiana in particular, to outdoor fitness and home fitness. And I mentioned this a few months ago, where it was a big thing for me, where I would kind of leave Louisiana, you know, on vacation, and then come back, and then it's like, oh, that's right, I need to start going to the gym again. So it's just a rougher transition, and that just for me personally, it just kind of even sounds, you know, just weird even saying that myself. Like, I had to really just think like, yeah, I got to start going to the gym again. Gym lover for many years prior to that. So very excited. Very, you know, like I said, the lockdown of very solid fitness options. And ironically, you know, one morning, it was a Thursday morning when I was at Fit Nation, I was on the stationary bike, and this is something that I mentioned. You know, I'm always highlighting best practices of different facilities, and certainly one thing you've heard me mention about Edge is the aspect, the consistency of communicating with your members. I mean, yes, that's a corporate chain, and I realize a lot of people will look at that situation and say, well, we can't compete with an entity like that. And so that's why I like to highlight various best practices, and you absolutely can maintain a solid communication plan of just speaking and talking to your members. So I was on that stationary bike. I literally glanced at my phone and saw the weekly blog post. And then actually it was last Thursday of last week, and then I noticed that, and I said, okay. Was reading about the newest location opening up in Shrewsbury, Missouri, in the St. Louis market, watched their promotional video and all of that. So even while I was out of town in another facility, my home gym here in Michigan, Metro Detroit, was staying in touch with me. So it's very, very important, folks. I've talked about this particularly a lot in the last, since the coronavirus pandemic, the importance of member engagement and how many gym members, of course, across various types of fitness facilities have bolted during this pandemic. And so, folks, as challenging as it is, and what's very, very, having a particularly consistent communication schedule can be very, very challenging. And also having the awareness too, there's people like myself that aren't on social media like that, and so having a newsletter, an e-newsletter, things like that. There's you just want to keep in touch with your members, folks. And so think about that. I'm having a great experience. I'm working out at another gym there in Bossier City, but what was I reading about? What was I paying attention to? What was top of mind? My gym here in Metro Detroit. So it's very important not to let your members, I talked about this last fall of 2020, the perils of a drifted gaze. You don't want your members' attention to drift. All right, and it happens all the time in various aspects of life. Of course, obviously this is Fitness Friday, so I'm highlighting the fitness aspect, folks, but hang on to your members. Hang on to various relationships. I mean, any relationship you want to keep, just talk to your people. Keep your members engaged, and just speaking with them and communicating with them wherever they may be is a great way of doing that. So folks, just had to kick off with that, and wanted to also highlight here, I'm always talking about, you missed it. When I was gone, you missed the SWOT analysis. How many of you were thinking about the SWOT analysis? How many of you have applied the SWOT analysis to your facility or facilities? And so, but wanted to kick off particularly this conversation. This is going to be fitness trends, hot topics. Probably do the same next week. There's always some topics that I want to bring up that don't fit nicely into other episodes, particularly that longer series that I did there on confidence. But this is very, very important because I'm always trying to keep these things top of mind for you. So we know, and I've talked at length, the coronavirus pandemic and what a tremendous threat it has been on the fitness industry, as well as various industries, actually all industries. I mean, there's no industry that has come across, has come through unscathed by the pressure that the coronavirus pandemic has placed upon it. And so I've talked at length, particularly last year, about Peloton, about how Peloton, the opportunity that they leveraged in their bikes and their treadmills and things like that, which is had record-setting sales, and they had to actually slow down some of their marketing efforts because the demand was too high and they couldn't supply, obviously supply and demand issues, so they couldn't supply all of that high demand that they were experiencing, so they had to pull back on some of their marketing efforts. I highlighted that in an episode last year. But Peloton has also faced their challenges with litigation, with the unfortunate death that occurred with one of their treadmills, and so they've experienced their own challenges. So last year it was certainly just a breakout year, just a huge year for them in many respects. But obviously they have had their challenges as well. And one common theme, particularly on Fitness Fridays, but in all Posi-TIPS, but in just a life philosophy in general, and I'm always highlighting the value of particularly overcoming adversity. Not being afraid of adversity, realizing that things are going to be hard, things are going to be tough, but we've got to have the right mindset. We've got to have the right mentality to persevere and keep on keeping on despite the challenges and adversities we face. And I think this is when I wanted to highlight this one first. With Peloton, CNN.com had an article, CNN Business had an article that I've saved here for a minute to highlight, and the title of this article is Peloton says you can wear its new athleisure line to work, by Paria Cavalance, and it was published on Friday, September 24th of this year. Not going to read it all, it's lengthy, but want to read a few parts of it because it highlights, again, from a marketing standpoint, particularly the challenges they've had, the negative publicity regarding the treadmills. And if you see, they've upped their advertising, their marketing spend regarding their Peloton bike, and obviously the subscription service. And I've talked about this actually a few weeks ago before I went on hiatus, about they've reduced some of their prices. Why? Because of the pressures of gyms reopening, so people have options. And some of their competitors have entered the market as well with similar subscription models. And so they experience pricing pressure and certainly lowered their prices in response to that. But so this article goes on to state, The pandemic sent droves of office employees into yoga pants and t-shirts almost overnight. Now, with more offices reopening and many shifting to a hybrid model, it's looking like a move to more casual wear, not just for workouts, may be here to stay. That's great news for a seemingly unlikely player. Peloton, whose popular bike and streaming workout classes have surged during the pandemic, said earlier this month that it's launching its own athleisure line, Peloton Apparel. It's the company's first crack at a clothing line developed and designed in-house. But it could face stiff competition from entrenched players such as Lululemon, Nike, and Athleta, as well as newcomers like Brooks Brothers, all of whom are fighting for a share of a market estimated by Coresight Research to be roughly $100 billion in the United States. Jill Foley, Peloton's vice president of apparel, spoke with CNN Business about the company's strategy to win customers. And so, I'm going to skip a little bit of this, going to go on. Again, from a marketing standpoint, I thought this was very, very good. So, CNN Business, the reporter asked the question, the market for athletic and athleisure wear is pretty crowded already. How do you plan to differentiate your line? And the response was, my strategy is twofold. We're focusing on our members. We have 6 million members. For our members who really enjoy the experience on the bike or the treadmill or the app and want to feel closer to us, the apparel is great for that. They can't buy anything else that says Peloton on it. Also, on a lot of our apparel, we put these little love notes on them, reminding people why they love our bike or tread. Together, we go far is one of our phrases. Others are show up, make your mark. We're trying to be an extension of their experience on the bike to carry them through their day. On prices, we're working on diversifying the price and democratizing some of the pieces. We try to get tanks as low as $38 to $42. On the high end, it's $54. We're really focused on being inclusive not only with pricing, but with sizing and style. And so, I mean, this whole article just had, marketing strategy all over it. And certainly, perhaps I'll come back to it at in a formal marketing series, but there was a lot here. And so, Peloton has faced, as we know, a number of challenges, but you got to keep on keeping on. You have to evaluate where other market potential exists. In this particular case, apparel targeted towards its own 6 million member base. And certainly a target audience that is right there. That is right there. And so I had to highlight that just as a word of encouragement, as we know times are hard, and we know the various levels and types of adversity that many have faced, but just recognize the opportunity still is there. It still exists. So keep on keeping on. Diligently look and evaluate untapped markets, untapped potential. And you too can find opportunities to leverage in order to grow and thrive in this final quarter here of 2021 and beyond. Because again, I'm always here on Fitness Friday. I always want the best for you. I'm going to encourage you to keep on keeping on to the best of your ability. And next, wanted to highlight, see, I'm on this unexpected marketing theme, but just when things happen, again, I have to just go with the flow. And this was a pretty big one, because this one sent much like the Lifetime Fitness, when I talked to two or three times about that, where I just noticed the shift towards marketing, just a heavily marketing focused, as well as been historically a very sales-driven organization. But I noticed that shift towards just a very, very detailed and comprehensive marketing plan and marketing strategy. And as ultimately it turned out, yes, Lifetime was planning to file an IPO for the second time. Then they're now public, and so just saw that coming. Definitely saw that coming from a marketing standpoint, and it just circling on the rotisserie of my mind. Why? And then the answer ultimately came out. And this was another example. The same thing happened. Of course, this was a print piece, a collateral that I'm going to show you here that showed up here in direct mail at my house, actually the day before I left for Louisiana. And that episode for that Friday was already filmed. And I was just like, yeah, I got to tackle this when I get back. So this showed up. And so what we have here, we got a 2-page front and back, Orange Theory Fitness. And if you watch Fitness Friday long enough, particularly the long haulers who've been with me for a long time, I studied Orange Theory Fitness back in 2016 and 2017. Just a boutique franchise, has done extremely well. They have historically had pretty aggressive growth and expansion plans, and just was very impressed. And when I see, again, these, whether it's a franchise or whatever, just going by gangbusters, I want to study, I want to learn, I want to evaluate why, and look at some best practices, and there's always lessons to be learned. And so for me to see this for the first time ever here in our Metro Detroit market, at my house, a direct mail piece. Yes, I've seen online, but for this direct mail piece to come, but it's not just the mere mention of the direct mail piece coming to my house. What I see here, and I was racking my brain, literally on the plane, I'm racking my brain, like, Rachelle, can you recall the last time you've seen a guarantee? Can you recall, when have you seen a guarantee from a fitness entity? And so I wanted to highlight this, obviously from a marketing standpoint. I'm going to come back to this also because there's implications for HR, human resources, and hiring later this year when I talk about that. But I want to highlight some of this. That's the copy and what it's saying here, because it's powerful from a marketing standpoint. It says, get the results you're looking for or get your money back guaranteed. And it was just, this got my attention really quickly. And I said, whoa, a fitness guarantee. Like, this is, again, from a marketing standpoint, when you think about USP or unique selling proposition or positioning. So you have an entity here, basically, for lack of a better term, in phraseology, to borrow from the vernacular, you have an entity here, OTF, putting their money where their mouth is, figuratively speaking, and certainly. Here it is. And so they're highlighting all of their Metro Detroit locations. Like I said, never seen this before from OTF, direct mail, and also to highlighting the scale and how they've ramped up here over the last few years in terms of number of facilities. But in addition to this, and this is something that I've highlighted, over the years, particularly when it comes to direct mail, because compared to other, whether you're talking about television or online or mobile marketing, direct mail historically has had the lowest response rates. All right, and so it's always expensive to do direct mail, regardless of what type of entity you're in. But you always want to make it as compelling as possible to entice individuals, potential customers, in this case, potential members, to have a call of action to join. So you want to have a compelling offer from a sales promotion standpoint. And what I see here is 2 free classes. Orange Theory Fitness with this coupon, not valid with other offers or prior purchases, expires 10/31/21. Go to localflavor.com for more coupons. So you've got all their locations, all their phone numbers here. So pretty impressive that they're growing over the years here in our Metro Detroit area, but just nationwide. And ironically, if you read and you research, OTF is actually post-pandemic, and they're continuing to have this aggressive growth strategy and mindset. I've posted on Fitness Friday 2, 3, 4 times maybe Orange Theory Fitness videos that they had on YouTube, just highlighting them, and particularly I believe her name is Ellen Latham, the founder, and is it Jeff Long that's her co-founder? And so they've done extremely well. They've been highlighted a lot, but won't go into all of that. But they now, and again, from a messaging standpoint, we look at the tagline now: quit free guarantee. So it says, experience the 1-hour full body workout that give you more motivation, more results, and a more vibrant life. We use we use heart rate based training that burns calories longer and produces results from the inside out. There's technology to track your progress, and every workout is led by certified coaches that tailor your workout to your fitness level. Orange Theory Fitness, and they've got the website, over 22 Michigan locations. Wow, and they just even a few years ago, they had far fewer than that. So they're growing across the state, promoting the vision of the franchise, of their presence here in the state of Michigan. Not just those here in Metro Detroit, because obviously people have, and it's always true in every state in the country, may have family or friends in various parts of the state, but we got a guarantee. Quit free guarantee. So that's why I'm always stating from a marketing standpoint how important it is to evaluate what's going on in the market. Because what this is going to do is put pressure on other fitness entities. Why? Because what does it say? Get the results you're looking for or get your money back guaranteed. And there's implications for this in terms of HR that I'm certainly going to get into later this year, because I don't want to spend too much time on it in this episode. Don't have time for it. I'm going to hit one last article and close this episode out. But historically, now this was pre-COVID, a few years ago when I studied them, they essentially had, an audition. Their coaches were I mean, it was a process. There was a process for them. There was a process to get hired. Essentially, they wanted to see them in action before all of that. And so there's certainly implications for that from a hiring standpoint, even now. So they worked really hard, or attempted to work really hard from an HR perspective to make sure they were hiring individuals, coaches that would be a good fit for the franchise, for that particular location, whatever the case may be, because this is a situation where, again, a boutique facility. So at the time, and I've got to spend some time now researching and updating from my prior study years ago. So when you look at their pricing model, and so back then it was roughly $100 to $150 a month for unlimited classes. So you think of the pricing ratio, you need far fewer members at that, just hypothetically, $150 price. And so every member counts. And there's been research that has been done from a fitness facility standpoint that I've highlighted over the years that showed the higher a membership cost, higher membership pricing, when a member is disengaged, inactive, or not showing up, the likelihood of them canceling is higher. And so this is a situation, these type of boutique, these more expensive boutique franchises, and member engagement is absolutely critical. Because if you lose a member, again, and they become disengaged, because again, your membership numbers don't have to be extremely high, like a big box chain, for example, just hypothetically speaking. And so when you think about $150 a month for one member versus $10 a month for another facility, you can just see what your potential volume needs would be. But also remember, these are smaller boutiques. These are smaller locations. So they're more intimate. They have fewer members, but they're paying much more in terms of their pricing. So member engagement is key. So having the right coach or the coaching team at each of these locations is absolutely critical. Absolutely critical. Because if there's a situation where the coach is just not a good fit, or the passion isn't there, the enthusiasm isn't there, and then you end up losing members, could be extremely detrimental, because again, this is a class-based model. They need to have strong coaches, and so there's HR implications for that. And now you take it up another level, because you've got to guarantee, get the results you want. So that puts pressure essentially, yes, on the actual coaches themselves, because you got to bring it. You got to bring it each and every time. You got to keep your members engaged. I mean, this has got to be a truly team collaborative effort in each of these locations to make this guarantee work. Because when you're putting your money, hypothetically, not hypothetically, but borrowing from the vernacular, you're putting your money where your mouth is. You got to bring it. You got to bring it each and every day. It's got to be a teamwork and collaboration effort among the staff to make this type of guarantee work. And I just saw this and I thought to myself, whoa, a fitness entity making a guarantee. So you got to be aware of what's going on from a competitive standpoint, and know what's going on in the market, because when you've got an entity saying, hey, we'll give you your money back, you don't get the results you want, think about that. I mean, this is class-based, so you're working with a coach. They're working with a coach in this particular situation, but getting the results you want. Very, very compelling from a marketing standpoint. You want to talk about market differentiation. This quit-free guarantee that they have is pretty powerful. And I wanted to make you aware of that, but obviously, I had to wait till I got back to make that happen. And another thing, so we received, these are just examples here locally, and as I often state, and I forgot to state before I began mentioning this, remember, Rachelle never promotes. Rachelle is, never promoting, one franchise, any entity over another. I'm always just highlighting best practices and learning and all of these type of opportunities in the spirit of learning. So they also had in our Novi-Note, which is a newer publication here. We received these in our mailboxes here. It's probably been, 3 or 4 months now, and I actually really enjoy getting them. And so what I see here is an Orange Theory Fitness ad here on the front. This is the October 14th edition. And so there it is. You got the QR code. Experience the 1 hour full body workout that gives you more. For a limited time, get 2 free workouts. Scan to claim and find a studio near you. All right. So we've got this here. And also this here in another edition of the Novi Note. We have got it right here. So this is the October 7th edition. Been hanging on to these. What we see here is an ad here. Orange Theory Fitness. So when I saw this again, I'm thinking, whoa, over 22 convenient Michigan locations. Visit us online to find your local studio to book your 2 classes free. And this one has a little bit more to it from a marketing standpoint. From a messaging standpoint, it has access to 1,000 plus studios with nationwide privileges. Freeze privileges, all right? Something to highlight during the pandemic. No long-term contracts. Very, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And I'll get into this probably in 2022, but I talked about it, here a few weeks ago. But this shift, you got Planet Fitness went to non-commitment, both membership levels, white card membership, black card membership. Lifetime Fitness, also 0 commitment, no commitment memberships. We see Orange OTF going in that same direction, and my prediction, I see it coming. So you're going to have your major players, a majority of them. Within at least 5 years, I'm predicting there's a very big shift going in that direction. I would say the coronavirus pandemic has exacerbated that trend, has accelerated that trend, pardon me. So what we have here, flexible class times, open 7 days per week, online or mobile booking. Highlighting the quit free guarantee again. So we're seeing a shift. People are saying, I don't want to be locked into a contract. And I talked about this last year, particularly when talking about fitness litigation and how entities faced, lawsuits, class action lawsuits, various types of entities, various types of entities across the country, because billing was still occurring while the facilities were closed. There was just so many different things happening. And this whole concept of the force majeure clause and how that impacted contracts and contract law. And so it's just very important to know what's going on and see the trends. And what I see is a very strong trend towards no contract. And so we'll see, like I said, in the next 5 years or so, it's slowly going in that direction. And so wanted to highlight that. And so that's why I love what I do. That's why I absolutely love what I do. Because I am pro fitness. I am pro, it doesn't matter what the entity is, if it's a private gym, if it's a, publicly traded company, whether it's an app, regardless. I'm passionate about fitness, but I'm passionate about the success of those within the fitness industry. And so I'm not beholden to anyone. I'm not just saying, oh, this person, this entity is where everyone should go, what everyone should do. No, I'm supportive of each and every type of modality, each and every type of entity. And I just think it's wonderful. And I have no problem giving kudos when it's well-deserved and when I see that quit-free guarantee. Putting their money where their mouth is, saying, you don't receive the results you want, things are not happening for you, you can walk away, no problem. Quit free guarantee. So want to highlight that and make you aware of that. And lastly, and as I alluded to, litigation. So we talked about that was the force majeure clause, which applied to fitness facilities, actually all types of entities during the coronavirus pandemic last year when there were a lot of closures. But I want to close this episode out here by talking about, and I've hung on to this. I actually had the physical copy of Athletic Business for a while, but then I threw it away. But then I had to find the article here online because it talks about the importance of AED deployment. And so wanted to just highlight that because, here on Fitness Friday, I'm always taking a holistic approach regarding just, operations, helping you, challenging you, certainly challenging you and just, encouraging you to think outside the box, but also to challenge yourselves. I challenge you to challenge yourselves and say, how are we doing in this area? From a legal exposure standpoint, is there something we need to look at doing? Are all of our bases covered in this area? Because this was a really, really important one. And so the title of this one is Case Shows Importance of Prompt AED Deployment in Athletic Business, published as April 22nd. of this year, and it's credited to the AB staff. So I'm going to read this one in its entirety because it deals with litigation. Obviously, we know this is Rachelle's Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS. I'm not an attorney. I am not a litigator, but I think it's very important to bring these types of issues to and make you aware of that. Bring them to the surface, highlight these so you can chat with your attorney if necessary, and see if there's any, your legal team, your general counsel, whomever you may need to speak with, to just make sure your bases are covered in this area, because I'm all about helping you in each and every aspect, in each and every way that I can. So when I see something that could potentially be an issue, want to highlight those. So in the interest of time, let me get reading here. Athletic Business has been examining the question of whether health and fitness clubs have a legal duty to have an automated external defibrillator, AED, on site as far back as April 2007. Over the past 14 years, some states have moved to require health facilities to have an AED on site, but not every state has been willing to impose such a duty. In fact, as of December 2020, there were only 16 states: Arkansas, California, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Nevada, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island, as well as the District of Columbia, that had mandated AED placement in health clubs, though most exempt spas and hotels. Even in some of the states that require facilities to have an on-site AED, there is still some confusion as to whether the facilities have a legal duty to actually use it. A good example of this apparent disconnect is Dawkins versus Fitness International. And the article goes on to say, a duty to use, one of the subheads says, a duty to use. While exercising at a fitness facility in Oswego, Illinois, Rachelle Smith Dawkins collapsed and stopped breathing. Although the club's staff members were aware of Dawkins' medical emergency, they failed to act. In particular, an employee on the premises at the time was trained to use the facility's AED, but did not immediately use it on Dawkins, instead waiting more than 8 minutes before employing the device. As a result of the delay, Dawkins suffered a permanent brain injury due to the lack of oxygenated blood to the brain. Dawkins sued Fitness International LLC, LA Fitness, and LA Fitness Oswego for negligence, claiming that the employee's failure to use the AED in a timely fashion after she suffered cardiac arrest was in violation of the Illinois Physical Fitness Facility Medical Emergency Preparedness Act. The PFF-MEPA required the club to, number 1, have a functioning AED on site. Number 2, have staff properly trained in the assessment of patrons and the use of AEDs. Number 3, have properly trained staff who were required to know to assess patrons who became unconscious for signs of breathing, pulse, and circulation in preparation for employing an AED device. And 4, have a medical emergency plan for responding to medical emergencies. The club, however, argued that the PFF-MEPA only required that facilities have a medical emergency plan filed with the Illinois Department of Public Health, IDPH, an AED on the premises, and a trained AED on staff during business hours. Therefore, the club argued that it was in full compliance with the PFF-MEPA at the time of Dawkins' injuries. In particular, the club argued that the PFF-MEPA created no duty to use an AED. In agreeing with the club, the trial court held that the PFF-MEPA did not create a duty for employees to use the AED, but only required that clubs have an AED on the premises with an emergency plan in place. Dawkins appealed the lower court's decision to the Appellate Court of Illinois, 3rd District. In the appeal, Dawkins argued that the intent of the PFF-MEPA was to create a duty for fitness facility staff members who were properly trained in the use of an AED to use it under appropriate circumstances. In support of this position, Dawkins pointed to Section 5 of the AED Act, which states that timely attention in medical emergencies saves lives, and that trained use of AEDs in medical emergency response can increase the number of lives saved. In overturning the lower court's decision, the appellate court held that it was undeniable that the PFF-MEPA requires that a fitness facility have a functioning AED on its premise and a staff member or members properly trained to use an AED present at each fitness facility during business hours. These requirements, the appellate court held, clearly suggest that the Illinois legislature intended to impose a duty on properly trained staff to assess unconscious patients and to use the AED when appropriate. Next subhead says, plain words, common sense. It goes on to state, in rejecting the club's argument, the appellate court found that its interpretation was contrary to the plain words of the PFF MEPA, which states that a right of action does not exist in connection with the use or non-use of an AED at a facility governed by this act, except for willful or wanton misconduct. This sentence, the court held, unambiguously provides that civil liability not merely for the misuse of an AED, but also the failure to use an AED, provided that such failure is willful and wanton. In addition, the appellate court held that the club's reading of the law would also negate the express purpose of the statute, which is to protect patrons of fitness facilities and to save lives by encouraging the proper use of AEDs. Based on the club's reading, a fitness facility could fully comply with the PFF MEPA by having a functioning AED on site, training a staff member in its use, and developing an emergency medical plan without having any obligation to implement the plan or to have the trained employee use the AED on a stricken patron under any circumstances. This interpretation, the court held, flouts the plain language of the statute and common sense and would render it absurd, pointless, or ineffectual. As for the club's last argument, that even if there was a duty, Dawkins failed to adequately allege willful and wanton misconduct. The appellate court, in sending the case back to the lower court, held that a willful or wanton injury must have been intentional, or the act must have been committed under circumstances exhibiting reckless disregard for the safety of others. This would include, after acknowledge of an impending danger, a failure to exercise ordinary care to prevent it. It was therefore up to the jury to determine whether the failure of the club's employees to render AED treatment to Dawkins for more than 8 minutes after she collapsed and had no signs of breathing, circulation, or a pulse amounted to willful and wanton conduct that breached the duty that LA Fitness owed to Dawkins and proximately caused her injuries. Next subhead says reasonable burden. Although the appellate court's decision only sent the case back to the lower court, it still provides several lessons for health and fitness club owners. First, in those states that have laws requiring AEDs, merely having one in an emergency plan is not enough. Even if the law does not say the club has a duty to use the AED to help people in the club in distress, it is important that health and fitness facilities not only plan for all possible emergency situations, but make sure that their employees are ready to implement those plans in an emergency. The longer employees wait before implementing the plan, the greater the risk of permanent injury or death. Second, in those states without AED laws creating a statutory duty to use an AED, facilities may still be negligent under common law. In deciding whether a club owes their guests a duty under common law, the court considers, number one, whether the plaintiff's injury was reasonably foreseeable. Number two, the likelihood of injury. Number three, the magnitude of the burden of guarding against injury. And four, the consequences of placing a burden on the defendant. Considering these factors and the fact that more than 356,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests occur annually in the United States, it would be reasonable for a court to find that it is foreseeable that patrons could suffer cardiac events while exercising in a fitness center. Finally, when weighing the burden on the club of guarding against such injury vis-a-vis the potential for a guest's death, the burden placed on the club is reasonable. A patron suffering cardiac arrest is rendered helpless and in grave danger. A trained AED user at a fitness facility is in far better position to care for such patrons than other patrons or the stricken individuals themselves. So I know that was a lot of legalese, certainly in that article as well, but I challenge you, if it interests you, to take a look at it. Like I said, I'm going to give you the title again. Case shows importance of prompt AED deployment by the AB staff. It was published April 22nd of this year, Athletic Business or athleticbusiness.com. You can find that article and take a look, because I'm always bringing various aspects and points that are very, very important to your attention here on Fitness Friday, and sometimes that includes litigation. certainly some litigation issues. Always want to, protect you as much as humanly possible by providing you with information. All right, so can't obviously litigate for you or represent you, but what I can certainly do is bring the matters and these issues to your attention. So folks, that is all I have for you today. This has been great as usual. So just continue to look for the opportunities. Continue to keep on keeping on. 2021 is coming to a close quickly. And so let's do the necessary strategic planning to make sure 2022, and beyond rock, and you can make certainly solid decisions to really take your entity, your facility or facilities to the next level. Regardless of what the entity is, regardless of what type. I want you to be successful. That's why I love what I do. I'm pro fitness. I want everyone to succeed. All right, I want everyone to succeed. In my life here currently, I want Edge Fitness to succeed. I want Fit Nation in Bossier City, Louisiana to succeed. I want Rachelle's Home Fitness Center to succeed. Gotta love it, folks. But I cannot wait to continue this conversation next time. Probably look at some more hot topics I can drop in for you here. But until then, stay tuned. But always remember, I am positively passionate about your fitness, success, and leadership. Make it a great day.